son comes up here. Does anybody know that? Where are the guys that go hunting with my son? Where the hell is that guy? Where is he? Him? No, he comes up here all the time. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm going hunting. Where? I'm going to Montana. That sounds pretty good. So, I want to thank you very much. And by the way, speaking of hunting, the NRA endorsed me last week. And we are going to protect your Second Amendment 100%. 100%. And as you know, crooked Hillary Clinton wants to essentially abolish the Second Amendment. That's not going to happen. So just remember that. You see what's going on. Just remember it. So we had a big day today. Today was a day where we hit the 1237, right? 1237. And, you know, you had our president saying he will not be the nominee of his party. Oh, really? He's been right about that like he's right about everything else, which is never. And yet a lot of the pundits, you see the guys back here, the people back here, some of the most dishonest people in the world, but most of them said, and they said very strongly, he will never be the nominee. I could name them, but I don't want to embarrass them. They're actually nice people. I don't want to embarrass them. He will never, ever be the nominee. And in fact, they used to say even worse. 10 months ago, they'd say, oh, he's not going to run. No, he's just having a good time. I am having a good time, but you know, I could be doing other things right now, okay? Right? No, we're having a good time. You know, we're having a good time because we know what's going to happen. We're going to make America great again, okay? Make America great again. And folks, this is a movement. Like, we come here at sort of an odd day, odd time of the day. You see this massive arena. You see how many people. It's like this all over. I mean, we go up, we have 25,000, 35,000 people many times. And it's like this all the time. Because it's a movement, and it's a movement to make America great again, but it's a movement. We want smart leadership. We want tough leadership. We want to go America first. America first. We owe $19 trillion. It's going to be $21 trillion very soon because of the budget, the famous omnibus budget. And so we're going to be at $21 trillion, and we have to be smart. And we have to be very vigilant. You look at what's coming into the country. They're sending people in. There's no papers. There's no documentation coming into your community, coming into many communities. And we have all big hearts. I have the biggest heart. I have as big a heart as anybody. When you have the Syrian refugees and you look at what's going on with the migration, you have the Syrian refugees and they're pouring into this country. They're pouring in all over Europe. Europe has this tremendous problems, and that's their problem, okay? We don't need to have any more problems. We have enough. So what's going to happen, and what is happening, and I predicted this. Remember, they said only 3,000. We're taking 3,000. And I said, all right, 3,000. Then it was 10,000. Then it was 25,000. Then it was 56,000. It's getting bigger and bigger. And we have no idea where they're coming from. We don't know. We don't see passports, although you will soon see passports because, as you know, ISIS stole the passport machines, the best machines. They took them. So now they're going to make passports. And you see cell phones, right? The migration. And everyone's on a cell phone. And you say, what the hell's going on? How do they have cell phones? And some of them have the ISIS flag on the cell phone. And more importantly, who pays the bills? Who's paying the cell phone bills? They're in the migration. Who's paying the cell phone bills? So we have to be smart, and we want to build safe zones, and we want to have those safe zones be built really well, and they should be built in Syria. And frankly, we have to get the Gulf states to pay for it. They have nothing but money. I know so well. I know most of them, believe me. They have unbelievable money, and we're going to get them to fund it, and we're going to lead it, and we're going to take care of people, and we have to take care. But we can't allow people to come into the country that we don't know who they are, we don't know where they come from, and we'll have problems like you've never seen. Can't do it. We can't do it, and we're not going to do it. And you know, when I announced, and I announced very strongly on June 16th, not so long ago, and I came in, and honestly, most people, and some were great, but most people said, it's not going to happen, he's not going to run. A couple said, which was very insulting, and if he runs, he's not going to do well. Thank you very much, folks, I appreciate it. Thank you, Carl. But, have I done a good job, folks? Have I done a good job in all forms? I mean, we've done good. We've done good. And so we had 17 people all together, and I heard Charles Krauthammer say, this is before I joined, because they wanted me to renew The Apprentice, and Steve Burke of Comcast came up to my office, we want you to renew. I said, Steve, I don't want to do it because I'm going to run. He said, no, you got to renew. And they actually announced they were going to renew, which caused me a lot of problems because I'm telling people I'm going to run, and NBC announced they're going to renew with Donald Trump. So we chose Arnold Schwarzenegger to take my place. How's Arnold going to do? Good. He's no Trump, but that's okay, right? Right? Now, Arnold's going to do fine. And so, you know, that was sort of the first, because you give it up. It's really a lot. It's a lot of money. No matter if you're rich or not rich, it's a lot of money. And it's very prestigious, primetime television. I've been 14 seasons. So I realized when I did that, you know, you're giving up something big. And then on June 16th, I'm coming down that famous escalator ride with Melania. And I made a speech. I actually handed out a speech. And I never liked when I handed it out. So I went freeform. Now today in North Dakota, we gave a speech on energy. Did anybody see it? That was not so freeform. And I actually got good reviews on that speech. But today, and we had a fantastic crowd. The great Harold Hamm was there, and I think he's here. Where's Harold? Where's Harold? The legendary Harold Hamm. Biggest oil man in the country. Knows more about energy than all of them. But where the hell is Harold? Where is he? There he is. There he is. Oh, he's got a lot of money. He's got money. Tell you what, he's got a lot of smarts. But Harold was with me, and I didn't know you were coming up here. The one thing I knew, he has no problems with transportation, Harold. Is that right? But he's an incredible guy. He employs tens of thousands of people, some in this area, many in this area. And those are the people that make it all work. So I want to thank Harold Hamm, and he's been so incredible and so instrumental because he knows more about energy in his finger than these other people and, frankly, consultants and others that tell you they know, and the politicians know from studying it all their lives. You know, Coach Barry Switzer's around here someplace. Where's Barry? Where the hell is Barry? You know, Barry won a Super Bowl. He won a national championship. Where's Barry? Can I tell him the story about Barry? Can I tell him what you said about Harold? Can I tell him? So Barry came up to my office, and Harold called, and they're like best friends. And Barry said, you know, Mr. Trump, this guy Harold Hamm, companies go out, they spend hundreds of millions of dollars looking for oil. They have the best people. They have the best equipment. They have the best machinery. And this Harold Hamm, my friend, he takes a straw, he puts it into the ground, and oil pours out. It's true. So that was from Barry, but it's true. So those are the guys you want to listen to when it comes to energy, when it comes to all forms of energy, not just the oil and gas, but when it comes to all forms. And so it's an honor that you've been with me twice today, both of you guys, and it's really an honor. And we had Lou Holtz here today. Lou Holtz was great. And boy, how good was we really put it away when Bobby Knight, 900 wins, right? Bobby Knight in Indiana. And he called me like a year before I ran. He said, you know what, Mr. Trump, I don't know you. I've never met you, but you should run. You're the only one that's going to turn this thing around. You should run. I said, now, Bobby, I haven't made my mind up yet. He said, you should run. You would be a great president. I said, that's really an honor coming from you. I actually checked. It was actually Bobby. I said, Bobby, do me a favor. Give me a number. If I run, I'm going to call you. He said, absolutely. So I take his number. So now I start winning a lot. And the system's all rigged. Look at Bernie Sanders. It's rigged. He wins all the time and he's getting creamed, right? No, it's a rigged system. Think Bernie's a happy man? I don't think so. But it's a rigged system, and the Republican system's rigged too, except if you win by a lot. And I started winning big. I won New Hampshire, right? I won South Carolina. I won Massachusetts. That's because Tom Brady likes me. Tom Brady likes me. Hey, Coach, I'll tell you what, Tom Brady really likes me. You'd like to have Tom Brady on your teams, right? But that helped. I got almost 50% in Massachusetts. Everybody said, with 9 people running. 50% with 9 people. How about these guys? You'll have like 9 people running. You get 49.2%. And they say, he didn't break 50. How the hell can you break 50 when you have all these people? But won Massachusetts big. Then we won the whole South. Alabama, Arkansas. We won Kentucky. Then we went down to Florida. We won Florida in a landslide. We won like it was amazing. It was amazing. And I said the only way, we started winning bigger and bigger and bigger in landslides. And while the system is set up that outsiders like all of us can't get in, you got to knock them out, like the boxers say, right? You go to somebody's home territory, and I know many of the boxers. I like the boxers, right? They have the greatest expressions, to me, sports expressions, but boxing in particular. You know, it's brutal. And I said to one of the guys, Champ, what are you doing going to his home territory? You'll get a bad decision. He goes, no, Mr. Trump, I'm going to knock him out. Because when I knock him out, there's nothing they can do. And he did. He did. And that's what we did. And Bernie is unable to knock her out, unfortunately. And unfortunately for her, she can't do much about him. In other words, they got a mess on their hands, folks. And who would have thought this wasn't supposed to happen? It was supposed to be that Trump would go to the convention. We were going to have a horrible convention because it was going to be contentious. I never believed that because I always said I was going to win on the first ballot. Is that right? Campaign Carl, right? Campaign Carl will agree. I always said I was going to win on the first ballot. He didn't really dispute it. A little bit, maybe. But I always said I was going to win on the first ballot. I didn't know I was going to win this quickly, in all fairness. I have to be honest. But what happened is we go to Indiana. So I win New York. I win all of these states. And Pennsylvania was unbelievable. In Maryland, in Connecticut, Rhode Island, Delaware. We won them all. New York was incredible because I won with this incredible vote, got everything. We won every single county in every single state out of all those last states, which is unheard of, never happened before. Every single county of every single state. We won women. Good, thank you. We won men. You know, I don't know if you heard, but I have one of the highest poll numbers ever recorded with men. And I would swap it for the women right now, okay? I want the women. The hell with the men. The hell with the men. Right, men? So anyway, now we have this incredible poll number with men, and we're coming up with women. We're doing great. And we're leading overall. That's very important, right? But we went to South Carolina. That was supposed to be a certain person's territory. And we won with evangelicals, big league. And we won with the military. And we won everything. So then it comes that we have a big lead, but they had their firewall, they called it. And the firewall was Indiana. And a friend of mine comes up, do you know Bobby Knight? No. Why do you ask? He goes, because, man, if you could ever get his endorsement in Indiana, he's so popular. That would be like the gold standard. So I said, you know, I think, and I have this massive stack of papers on my desk. I said, I remember like a year ago putting his number here. I said, and I lift up this massive group of papers. And right on top was his number. It was like God gave it to me, okay? It was from God. So what happens, it's right on top. It was like the first thing. It was, if you ever to do that again, you could try it 1,000 times. That wouldn't happen. And it says Bobby Knight, and it's a cell phone. So I call him, and he goes, I've been waiting for you to call. Right? And he said, when should I meet you? Because it was that week. And we went to Indiana, and we had a stadium bigger than this. And it was packed. And I let people know that Bobby was going to be there. And, you know, hey, look, he won 3 national championships. He won 900 games. He was like the greatest. Nobody. I mean, just an amazing guy. And tough and smart. He had the last undefeated season in college basketball, which is hard to believe. I actually said, Bobby, why is it? I mean, you know, it's a long time ago. Why is he says, well, you know, basketball's funny. You can have these great shooters, but if they have an off night, you can lose a game. So it's hard when you win like 38, you have 38 games or 35 games. One bad night for a couple of guys, all of a sudden you lose. So I said, that's amazing. So Bobby Knight walked out and the place went crazy. And then all of a sudden the votes come in. And what turned out to be a firewall was a firewall for me. We won in a landslide. It's one of those things. We won Indiana. So that was pretty much it. And then everybody dropped out. And now we've been waiting. And I think the thing I'm most proud of, in the history of the Republican Party, this is the history. You talk about Dwight D. Eisenhower, Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan. You talk about names going all the way back. In the history of the Republican Party, to me this means so much, I've gotten more votes than anybody has ever gotten. And, think of it. And, very importantly, we have 10 states left. We have 10 states left. So I wanted to come here, and I'm doing it. And I know that your state, Montana, is very much a Republican stronghold. And I know, and I'll come back 10 times if you want me to. However, maybe my son will come back. He'll go hunting with you guys. But he's good. He's a good guy too, Don. But what I'm going to do is I want to focus on 15 or so states because we have to win. And I want my energy to be put in the states where it could go either way. And we're going to play heavy, as an example, in California. Now, no other Republican would, they wouldn't even go to dinner in California. They wouldn't do it. And I know you have my back, man. Who said that? Put up look at that guy. I'm not going to mess with those guys. Those are tough-looking dudes from Montana. They are tough-looking dudes. But I'm going to come, and I'm going to go, and I said I'm going to stop at each state, the ones that we were, that we feel very strong about. But it's better, don't you agree, that if I focus on those 15 states, I can come back here 25 times if I want, but we want to focus on those states, and we're going to focus on New York, which everybody, if, for instance, Ted Cruz or any of the guys, good guys, but they're more traditional, if they won, if they got the nomination, they wouldn't spend 10 cents in New York, they wouldn't go there, and they wouldn't do well there. Look at the way we won on the primary. That's one of the reasons I won by a record margin. I beat one of them by almost 50 points. 50 points. That means the margin. And I had 3 people. 3 people is hard. When you start getting into the 62 areas, I got 67 and 62. And, when you have 3 people, we don't get enough credit. I say we because we're like a group. We won today. We won, not me. We all won today. But when you win and you get into the 50s and 60s and mostly 60s and now even 70, we had a 78. But when you have 3 people and you're breaking into the 60s, if you run against one person and you get 55% of the vote, that's like a landslide. That's like considered a tremendous victory, easy victory. And here I am winning by all this with 3. But I never got credit from these guys. They would say, the pundits, Donald Trump has not cracked 50%. I'd have 12 people and I'd get 34% with 12 people. And they're senators, they're senators and they're governors. And there's guys that are very smart like Ben Carson, who's a great guy and endorsed me and great. All right? Really is smart. You have smart people. These are accomplished people. So you'll have like 12 and 14 and I'll get 32 and 36 and I have to listen to the pundit saying, he has not broken 50. Nobody. Abraham Lincoln couldn't have broke 50. And the other thing, remember this, when you go along and you have all these people running, it's the largest field, I think, that's ever run. I think 17 people. I don't know. John, is that the largest field ever? I think so, right? The largest field, I can ask Campaign Carl, is this the largest field ever to run? Please tell us. If Campaign Carl says it, it's true. Unless he's talking about me. Other than that, nobody knows more about politics. The largest field ever to run. So this never happened before. So a lot of votes and a lot of percentages are taken by all these very talented people. In some cases very talented, not in all cases. And so we had something that's special. And we have something. So now we've been on the cover of Time magazine many, many times, and it's about this movement. And Bill O'Reilly, who's a great guy, very tough, very smart, but he's been saying, and he said a couple of weeks ago, it's the single greatest political phenomena that he has ever seen in his lifetime. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And many people have said that. And, you know, don't forget, Bernie is doing wonderful, but he can't win. It's a big difference. And it's not a phenomena. It's not a phenomena. And we get much bigger crowds than he does, by the way, just in case you have any questions. He gets the second biggest crowds, I will say. But this has become something special. And it's special because we fought it a different way. So I spent the least and had the best result. Okay? I still spent about 50 million of my own money. It's not exactly chopped liver, right? It's 50 million. Now we're raising money for the Republican Party. But I spent $50 or $55 million of my own money. But other guys spent like 220, and they came in last. So let me ask you, would you rather have the guy that spent the least who came in first, or the guy that spent the most and came in last? Who do we want as our president? Right? Right? So we've got a lot of things going. But let me just tell you from your standpoint in particular, because you're so much into the Second Amendment, so much into other things, and it's a little bit different. We're going to have great security. We're going to have great borders. We're going to have the wall and all of that. And I know you have a problem. I know you have a problem, because I do it with every state. And your state's a little bit different because of this place is gorgeous, by the way. I'm driving up. And you know, I'm driving from the airport. And all from the airport to here, there are people waving and signs. We love Donald. And I said to myself, I don't have to come back any year. Why should I come back? We've got this place made, right? But no, you have great people here. And it's a little bit different. But I said to my people, I have a statistician. Perhaps the world's most boring job. But he loves it. He wouldn't want to do what I'm doing. He wants to be a statistician, and he's good. And I said, check it out, the area. Billings, okay? Since Bill Clinton signed an agreement to put China in the World Trade Organization, which, by the way, was a disaster, Montana has lost more than 1 in 8 manufacturing jobs. Hillary Clinton, sometimes referred to as Crooked Hillary, supported NAFTA, which her husband signed. Now, NAFTA is probably the worst economic development deal, or whatever you want to call it, ever signed in the history of our country, maybe in the history of any other country. Because it has wiped out New England, it's wiped out New York State, it's wiped out vast areas of our country. Even, I must tell you, Carrier Air Conditioning in Indiana, they leave just before I go there to campaign. And I've been talking about Carrier for 5 months. What they did, they let go of everybody. They said, you're all fired, we're moving to Mexico. I mean, you know, when I made speeches in Indiana, the Carrier people, there were so many of them I used to say, where are the Carrier people? There'd be large sections of the audience. They let go of 1,400 people, and it was a disgrace. We're not going to let that happen anymore, folks, okay? We're not going to let it happen anymore. If people want to take our companies, there are going to be consequences. We're going to have consequences. And the consequences, you know, our brilliant politicians. And by the way, I do want to thank your congressman who has been supporting me right from the beginning. Where the hell is he? Where is he, my man? Right from the beginning. But it was more his wife. His wife liked me much better than him, right? So anyway, thank you very much. I do appreciate it. Right very early on. So I hope I made you look good in Congress. Did I? Yes? But we are going to stop allowing this to happen. And in Congress and through the president, who doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, by the way, doesn't know what, honestly, he doesn't know. He was talking about Donald Trump, that other countries are very nervous. That's good if they're nervous. That's good. That's good. Right? It's good. Let them be a little bit nervous. By the way, I'll have a better relationship with other countries than he has, except we'll do much better, and they won't be taking advantage of us anymore, and they won't be calling us the stupid people anymore, okay? I mean, China, and I do a lot of business with China. They're great. You know, I've made a lot of money dealing with China. Condos. I own a big chunk of the Bank of America building in San Francisco. That was through China. 1290 Avenue of the Americas through China. I do a lot of stuff with China. And I have tenants. I have the biggest bank in the world from China, tenant in one of my buildings in Manhattan. I do great with China. And I'm not knocking China. And I'm not knocking Japan. And I'm not knocking Mexico. I'm knocking our leaders, like President Obama, for being totally incompetent where he allows this kind of thing to happen. So we're going to stop it. And here's the consequence. I'll do it quickly. But the consequence is when they make a product and they want to leave Indiana, or in the case of Nabisco, Chicago, where they had a big plant, they're closing the plant, firing everybody. They're moving. They're going to make Oreos now in Mexico. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. We're not eating any more Oreos, right, fellas? No more. So, and Ford Motor. They're building these massive plants in Mexico, and they're letting people go in Michigan. And by the way, I'm going to win Michigan. And normally a Republican would not go to campaign there. And I'm going to win just like I did in the primaries. I'm going to win Michigan by a lot. Because I've been talking about Michigan for 5 years, what's happening up there with the horror show, where they're closing their factories. They're building cars in Mexico. Mexico is going to be soon the car capital of the world, okay? And you know what? Here's the story. Consequences. They want to build a car, a truck, or parts. They want to sell it through the border, which will now be a very, very strong, powerful border. Okay? No more Swiss cheese, folks. No more Swiss cheese. They want to sell this stuff through the border. They're going to pay a very big tax. It's going to be like 30, 35%. But here's what happens. If they know they're going to pay that tax before they move, they're not moving. They're not going to move. If I went to, as an example, it's probably not too late in this case, but if I went to Carrier Air Conditioning, I said, fellas, would like you to stay. Well, I'm sorry. We're not staying. Okay, that's all right. Here's the story. If you move to Mexico, we wish you a lot of luck. But if you move to Mexico, every air conditioning unit that you make that crosses that border, you're going to pay a 35% tax on that unit. Okay? And you know what they're going to say? Sure as you're standing there, we've decided not to move. That's the way it is. They will have decided not to move. So the story is we can do things with this country like you've never, ever seen before. I cut out a couple of articles today. This is one from a newspaper. I can't stand the paper, so I won't tell you which one. I can't stand most of the papers, to be honest. Illegal immigrants get $1,261 more welfare than American families. $5,692 versus $4,431. How stupid are we, okay? How stupid are we? So it's going to all end. It's going to all end. So we're going to build the wall. You have to tell me one thing. Okay? Tell me. Build a wall. It's going to be a big wall. It's going to be a beautiful wall. Someday when I'm gonzo, maybe they'll name it after Trump. I'd really much rather have a statue in Washington, D.C. I don't want a wall named after me, but that's okay. I want a statue in Washington, D.C. Maybe share it with Jefferson or something. No. We're going to build a wall. It's going to be a big, powerful wall. And, you know, recently I got the endorsement from the Border Patrol agents. 16,500 Border Patrol agents endorsed Donald Trump unanimously. They've never endorsed a candidate before. They've never endorsed a candidate for president before. First time they've ever done it. I didn't even know if they're allowed to do it, but they did it anyway. Because they're great people. And I was speaking to them, and they called me, and they say, we want to congratulate you, 6,500, 16,500. And I said, so let me ask you this. you have the possibility of a wall. How important is the wall? They said, Mr. Trump, it is so totally important. I just wanted to hear that anyway. I knew the answer. But who knows better than these people? These are incredible people. And it would have been easier if they just do the job the way they're doing it right now. They're told to stand back, let people walk right in front of them. They have the equipment. These are strong, good people. They want to see the right thing happen. They want to see. And by the way, we want people to come into our country, but we want them to come in legally. They have to come in legally, right? So they told me, they said, Mr. Trump, it's absolutely necessary. We need it. And they actually said it interestingly. It's another tool, and by far the most important tool that we have to stop illegal immigration and to stop drugs. So I'm looking at your thing, and I'm looking at Billings, and I'm looking at Montana, and the labor force in Billings today is smaller than it was in '06 by quite a bit. In Billings, this is not a good one. Homicides have increased by 50%. What the hell's going on here? What's going on? And assault on officers, that's your police. Do we love our police? Right? They are really mistreated. These are great people. You know, you have thousands and thousands of positive incidents, and then you have one negative where it's rogue or somebody makes a mistake or something bad happens, and that's on the news forever. It's on the news forever. We got to stick up for our police. These are incredible people. We have to stick up for our police. Remember that. And I do think I've gotten every single endorsement from our New England police, everybody, massive sections of the country, they've endorsed me, law enforcement, because we're going to stop things from happening, bad things from happening. But I was a little surprised to see this. So in Billings, homicides have increased by 50%. Assault on officers has increased by 25%. The Billings police chief recently said, with most of the crime we see here, the common denominator is always methamphetamines, right? Right? That's bad. According to the Department of Justice, methamphetamine seizures have increased along the southwest border. Surprise, surprise. So, you know, that's a pretty sad number. So it's coming in through the border, and as far up as you are, you have the border, and the stuff is pouring in. You know, when I won New Hampshire, they said they have a huge problem with heroin. And I said to them, I have no idea. I wasn't supposed to win. Jeb Bush was supposed to win. And I went to New Hampshire. I made speeches. I was with the people. And it was my first victory, so it was very special. New Hampshire's special to me. It was my first victory. And I told the people, I'd go and I'd see these beautiful streams, little like this. It's such a beautiful area. Beautiful trees and roads and little country roads. And the people are incredible people. And I'd go into a meeting and I'd be with hundreds of people because it was different. We had these very intimate, small groups of people, except when I made a speech. So we had these massive crowds that were going outside of the schools. But we'd have meetings, and I'd say, what's your biggest problem? And they'd say heroin. I'd say, heroin doesn't work with this community. How can it be heroin? It's a massive problem in New Hampshire. It's a massive problem all over New England. It's a massive problem here. It's a massive problem everywhere. And most of it comes right through that southern border. It's coming right through the border. And we're going to stop it, folks, okay? We're going to stop it. It's poisoning your kids. It's poisoning more than your kids. It's poisoning, in some cases, you. And we're going to stop it. And we're going to work to get the people that are hooked off. I mean, we got to help them. It's hard. But we have people that are hooked. And we're going to get them off. And we're going to make that border so strong. But we're going to make it very, very open for people that want to come in legally. Now, listen, there's a couple of things. Probably, other than security, security's always number one. Always. Right? Our military, we're going to make it bigger, better, stronger than ever before. I didn't want to be in the war in Iraq. We should have never been there. It destabilized the whole Middle East. It's a total mess. I said it for many, many years. Right at the beginning, by the way. You know, they like to say, well, I think maybe he wasn't. Believe me, you go back 2004, look at the articles. We should have never been there. Then Obama got us out in the worst way possible. How about when he announces the date that we're leaving? And the enemy's saying, he doesn't mean that. Nobody can be that stupid to give us the date. So they didn't believe it. And then the date came and he was serious. This guy is some piece of work, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. He is the single best thing to ever happen to Jimmy Carter. Because a lot of people are no longer looking at Jimmy Carter as our worst president. But he is the single best thing ever to happen to Jimmy Carter. So let me just tell you. So we're going to make a lot of decisions. And we're going to make a lot of right decisions and smart decisions and America First decisions. And we're going to make great trade deals. But one thing that's very important that nobody even thinks about, you know, these people, these poor, sad people. I see this Bill Kristol, this poor, sad guy. He said, first of all, long before this, he said, go into Iraq and kill everybody. Go into Iraq, go into Iraq, go into Iraq. Well, he was wrong on that. Then he says, Trump will never run. Well, Trump ran. Then he says, Trump won't do good. Trump did real good. Every single thing he said for years is wrong. In fact, I even asked the shows, how can you allow this moron to be on the shows? Why would he be? And he's sitting there the other day, I'm watching one of the shows, he's sweating. So what are you going to do? Now Trump looks like he's going to get it. And by the way, today I got it, right? But this was a week ago. This guy's a total moron. So they say, so now it looks like Trump's going to get it. You said he wasn't going to run. And if he did run, he wouldn't do well. What are you going to do now? Well, we're looking for a candidate. This guy. So he tried for 6 months to find a candidate, was unable to do so. And the other day, like a week ago, we're looking for a candidate. Where do they find these people? Where do they find them? And here's the problem. If he ever did find a candidate, and you know, the path for a Republican is much tougher than the path for the presidency for a Democrat. You know that, right? Hello, darling. Thank you. So the path, she's going to vote for Trump. Are you voting for Trump? Good. Thank you. Thank you. So the path is a much different path. It's much more difficult. If we don't win every single state, we lose with the Electoral College the way it's set up. Now, again, I'm different because I'm going to put states into play like Michigan because I know I'm going to bring back the car industry. But I'm going to, and nobody else can do that. Nobody else. Hillary doesn't, she doesn't even know. She doesn't know what she's talking about. So I'm going to bring back the car industry. Nobody else can do that. I'm going to do things, but I think we're going to win Michigan just like I did in the primaries by a massive number. But what's happening is, if you look, it's a very tough path to get to the presidency if you're a Republican. Much tougher than if you're a Democrat. With all of that being said, I put 15 states potentially into play. They put 3 or 4 states. If they lose any of them, when I say they, and I say it respectfully, a traditional Republican, even a very conservative Republican like a Ted Cruz, had he won, he's got to get Pennsylvania. He's got to get Florida. He's got to get Ohio. He's got to get everything. He's got to get New Mexico. If he loses one little thing, one state, it's over. Whereas the Democrats can sail along, they can lose numerous states and they still get in. Don't let it get you scared. We are going to win. Don't even think about it. Don't even think. But, the path is tougher, but I'm putting 15 states into play that I think I can win. I was in the state of Washington recently. We had record crowds, the biggest crowds they've ever had. I was in other states. I won't even tell you. Let them figure out what they are. But I was in other states that traditionally no Republican would waste their time in. They wouldn't go to dinner there. They wouldn't spend 10 cents on an ad because there's no way they could win. I think I can win various states that people aren't even thinking about. So we'll find out. I'll let you know around the middle of November how we do, right? I'll let you know. But the one thing that nobody talks about is Supreme Court justices. So when the morons like Bill Kristol or poor Mitt Romney, who failed so badly, he failed. I feel badly for him. I actually feel sorry for this guy. He failed so badly, and he should be, I raised like $1 million. I made calls for him and everything. Of course, I was pretty rough about him not going on the race. I did say he's a choke artist. Don't do it. You're going to lose again. Because honestly, beating Obama, who was a failed president 4 years ago, in my opinion, is easier than the race we have coming up today, okay? It's easier. You saw what they did in Virginia. They allowed 200,000 people that in some cases were seriously, these were serious criminals. They're trying to get them to be able to vote. And a lot of other things have happened. You talk about a rigged system. I think we'll win Virginia. I have a lot of property in Virginia. I have thousands of employees in Virginia. I think we're going to win in Virginia. I think we're going to win in Florida, big league in Florida. We're going to do great. I won Florida by a massive number, almost 20 points, which was shocking. People couldn't believe it. Florida, to show you how the system's rigged. So in Florida, they heard Trump is running. And they had Jeb Bush and they had Marco. And they said, well, we want the establishment guy to win. So what they did is they say winner take all. It's a winner take all state. They changed it. Winner take all. And even I said, oh man, I'm running against the governor that was there for 8 years. I'm running against the current United States Senator. And it's winner take all. What was that? Did somebody throw a hat? Now, it was only a microphone. I thought somebody threw something at me. I was saying, is that Jeb? This fell off. Who wants water? Anybody want some water? Here you go. Okay, enjoy it. Trump water, very good water. Even better than Montana water. Probably comes from Montana, so don't worry about it. So anyway, it's winner take all. And I said, that's not really fair. Winner take all is bad news. I don't want winner take all. And then they did a poll. Trump 48. They were 15 and 12. I said, that must be a wrong poll. Governor, Senate. So they did another poll. And then they saw, I'm going to win in like a landslide. And they tried to change it back, but we wouldn't let them. And we won all 99 delegates in the state of Florida. Pretty good, right? So sometimes the system is rigged. But sometimes, because we're dealing with some pretty strange people, sometimes it works out to your advantage. So let me just tell you, just in closing, we have to win. Because if we don't win, number one, you're not going to have your Second Amendment anymore. It's going to be so watered down, it's going to be the same thing. They're talking about bullets. They're talking about magazines. They're talking about things that you wouldn't even think about. But here's what we're going to do. I submitted a list of 11 judges approved by Federalist Society, looked over by Heritage. We've gotten rave reviews on these judges. And I'm going to pick one of these judges, or somebody very close. And I'm going to actually add a few more to it, because I hear there are some excellent extra, people that are great. So we're going to have 14, 15 judges that are phenomenal, that believe in all of the things we believe in, and very, very strong on the Second Amendment. They're pro-life. They're strong on the Second Amendment. They're highly, highly vetted. Highly vetted. And anybody? No, I want to give it to a woman. Woman. You are the one. Where's that woman? You. All right, give it to her. She was so good. So, I never had, it actually fell on my foot and it felt like heavy. That's the heaviest hat I've ever. That means it was made in America. It's high quality. It is actually very nice. So if we don't win, you're going to have potentially 5 judges. You're going to have a minimum of 3 during this term. This is an unusual term because it could be a record in 4 years for the number of Supreme Court justices you're going to pick. So it could very well be. I mean, it's going to be incredible, the numbers. I like that. I like that. Look at that, people. Look at that. Look at that. I'm not sure if the people standing behind you like it, but we like it, right? So what happens is the Supreme Court justices outside of security, and the economy is very important, but the economy isn't even as important as this. Because if they put the judges that a crooked Hillary Clinton will put onto the Supreme Court, your country will never be the same, will probably never recover, and if it does recover, it will be in 100 years from now. That's how serious it is. So when these dopey, foolish, stupid people keep talking about a third party, just because they don't like me. We had tough wars. I mean, Jeb signed an agreement, and I like Jeb, he's fine. But he signed an agreement. They all wanted me to sign it. I'm saying, no. But then eventually I signed it. I live by it, right? It's called a pledge. You know, you got a pledge. You make a pledge. When you make a deal, you make a deal. And we had a rough primary. These guys said it's the roughest primary they've ever seen. And it was nasty. And I had to be nasty. My wife said, why can't you be nicer to people? I said, because I like winning. Is that okay? I like winning. It's true. Nice to win. It's nice to win. If we don't win, you're going to have as many as 5. Hard to believe. Look at Scalia. He was great. Nobody thought he was going to. We looked at him. He was going to be there for 10 or 15 years. He was there. He's the template. He's the guy you most want to get somebody like that. But you look at that. Thank you, darling. You look at that. If we lose, you're going to have 3 at a minimum. Could be 4. It could be 5 judges. The court will never, ever come back. Whether it's, and I'm not even talking about 1 issue or 2 issues. I'm talking about many issues. We will become Venezuela. We will become, and you see what's happening in Venezuela. So everybody has to go out. Everybody has to do their best. Everybody has to make sure we get elected. So now we're the nominee. Now we're the nominee. We're going to have a great convention. We're going to have a great convention. You know, there was some talk about possibly moving the convention site from Cleveland to another city. I said, no way you're moving it. No way. Yeah, they were thinking about moving it to another city. You know, nice, glamorous, beautiful state, everything. I said, no, you're not going to move it. I said, we're going to win. We're going to be in Cleveland. We're going to love Cleveland. We're going to win the state of Ohio. And Ohio is going to remember that I stuck up for Cleveland. I think they're going to remember that. They're going to remember it big league. And we're going to have a great time in Cleveland. And we're going to have great unification. And already, everyone's coming out. The congressman was telling me just before, they're all coming out in favor. And we're up to now 91 or 92%. And it's a beautiful thing. But remember this. When you vote for me, you're voting for not only the best security, not only the best borders, the best trade deals. I have Carl Icahn. I have all the great businessmen are all supporting me. I mean, I have the greatest businessmen in the world. We don't use them to negotiate our deals with China, with Mexico, with Japan, with Vietnam, with all these countries that rip us. We don't use them. We use political hacks. We use lightweights. And they're using their smartest people. And ours are better than theirs, but we have to use our best. But with all of that being said, we have to save the Supreme Court. So I want to thank the state of Montana. I want to thank Billings for this incredible outpouring. I want to thank you. And, you know, we have a country, and remember this. We have a country that doesn't win anymore. We don't even win. I walk down. See, here's my notes. Look, that's my notes. Don't you like it when somebody doesn't use a teleprompter? Right? Here's my notes. Who else makes a speech to a crowd like this with this? But I do it from the heart. A friend of mine who's very successful said, how do you do this? He's really one of the most successful people. And he came with me to Dallas. We had 21,000 people in the Mavericks Arena. And he said, how the hell do you speak? I said, honestly, it's easy because there's such love in the room. All the rooms. We're all the same. There's such love in the rooms. But we don't win anymore. Take a look at the TSA. Look at our airports where people are waiting in line for 4 and 5 hours to get to a plane. And then they get checked in and the plane is gone. We don't know what the hell we're doing. We have no abilities. We have no management. We have no leadership at the top. That's the problem. So we're going to change it. So we don't win anymore, folks. But if you elect me, we're going to win. We're going to win so much. We're going to win with our military. We're going to win on trade. We're going to win at the border. We're going to win so much. You're going to get so sick and tired of winning. You're going to come to me and say, please, please, we can't win anymore. You've heard this one, right? You can't win. Please, Mr. President. We beg you, sir. We don't want to win anymore. It's too much. It's not fair to everybody else. And I'm going to say, I'm sorry. but we're going to keep winning, and we're going to make America great again. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Montana.